Hey everyone, today I'm doing a draft and game analysis of Fnatic versus Top Esports at Worlds 2020. Kind of doing this spontaneously. I watched the first game by myself and now I'm going to watch the rest of the game. So I'm just going to quickly go over what happened in game one just to give some of my thoughts on draft. I guess I'll start from the beginning of the draft, that makes most sense. And then I'll actually watch the last X amount of games, although I already know who the victor is and how many games there are. Okay, so take a look at the bans this game, and a lot of standard ones, right? I think maybe some of the bans aren't as standard, right? So like TF and Lucian, we see banned a lot, right? And there's the question of which team's blue side, who's going to be first picking them. We don't see any of the farm junglers banned, right? So Lilia's up, Graves is up, and Nidalee's up. I think win rate wise, Nidalee's been doing very well, but maybe just overall perception, Graves maybe feels the strongest, or Lilia, depending on who your jungler is. I don't know. Lilia's looked a little bit missed to me. But there's a blue side TF ban and an Ori ban is a strict Nemesis target, right? Those are two big Nemesis heroes. I think the other one's Lucian right now, maybe even Syndra. I guess more Lucian. And Fnatic actually banned that themselves because I think Lucian seems to just dominate in the games that he's gotten through. So common first ban. I think we can extrapolate enough from the rest of the bans. I'm not going to get into them too much, but as usual, there's a Graves first pick, right? It's probably the first pick is probably going to be one of the farming junglers, depending on your priority on Graves. I think both of these junglers like Graves a lot more than Lilia, so we're probably going to see it. And then the counter to Graves, right? You're probably going to see one of the other strong junglers, one of the other common ones, right? Nidalee or Lilia, or you're going to see the common counter pick that we keep seeing in Kindred. Sorry, I skipped a little forward here, but Fnatic goes for a Senna and a Kindred. So the one maybe surprising thing about Kindred here is we don't really know if it's a self-made hero. He doesn't play it very much, but he goes for it. So that was a little surprising, cool nonetheless. And then Senna is what she is. And here's where the draft starts actually rounding itself. So with Senna and Kindred, Senna enhances frontliners, oftentimes will be more forward heroes. Kindred more of a reactive hero, nonetheless can still work together, both scaling options. You have to imagine the rest of the draft will be a little bit faster tempoed, but Top immediately put their foot down with this phase of the draft and say, yeah, we're going poke comp, guys. And there's something funny about what Top does here. Basically, this whole tournament, group stage and all, I've been super confused about the lack of Zoe because I think she's been a really excellent pick into most of the comps we've been seeing. We've been seeing a lot of scaling reactive comps without the best hard engage options and without the best early game punishes. And it seems like when you got these standstill sort of scaling reactive mid-range comps, poke is really strong, and Zoe is one of the easiest poke champions to actually fit into your composition because she can play more reactively, just poking down at objectives, or she can even be follow-up in a more engage-heavy comp, so she's very flexible in how you draft her. And I thought, from my perspective, I thought the reason people weren't picking Zoe is because she got too beat up in lane, but now in this quarterfinals, people seem to be cool just blind picking her, so I don't know what the hell's going on. I will admit, though, the two strongest laners were banned out this game, so maybe Zoe was just optimal on all fronts. But yeah, Zoe Ezreal, super OG comp, right? You just draft both poke heroes, and Ezreal and Zoe don't have to play in reactive comps. You can actually draft engage frontliners, and they will still have the opportunity to follow up. I think the biggest thing I'd be worried about at this point would be a tank. I would probably be worried about an orange draft right here, but it would lock in Fnatic into weak-ish lanes, right? And Kindred wants stronger lanes so that she can just go around picking up marks. Usually you want Kindred to be your scaling option, and you want pressure in the lanes. But Ornn looks like a possibility. They don't go for it, right? They go for the Galio instead. Galio's a champion that I've been pretty critical of this Worlds because I don't think he's a very good peeling champ, and people draft him a lot of reactive comps. And I really think you just need a hard initiator that actually puts their body forward for Galio to jump onto, like the Leonas, like the Camille's, and we haven't seen a lot of that. So in this current comp, I'm not happy with Galio, but let's see how it gets rounded out by Fnatic. So there's a Yuumi ban, right? Common pick with Ezreal, a lot of disengage. Yuumi in this comp would be extremely strong, although it would make it a very heavy scaling comp. Shen is what he is. He does go forward, so Galio would be able to go on him. It'd be a little bit of a weird comp, but it would be a lot of pressure in the early game, a lot of global presence for Kindred to get her marks up. Bard also seems reasonable, similar to why Yuumi might be good. Once you see these bans, they're more reactive champions, right? Better peelers. At this point, Fnatic is possibly showing their hand a little bit, saying we actually need more engage to get onto Zoe and Ezreal so we don't get poked down. So banning away stuff that's going to be good disengage, good reactive heroes makes a ton of sense. Another hero that puts their body forward for Galio banned off the table. Camille's probably, I'd say, the strongest one to go with Galio, so makes a lot of sense to me, depending on how tough you think it is to fight Bippo's Camille. And then I was really worried when watching this draft that we were going to see another dead Galio pick, where he has very little to do through the game. I'll probably get into that in some of my... I already did a video where I talk a lot about Galio, but I'm probably going to have to get into it more as I do other draft analyses. But Rakan's perfect, right? Rakan gives that option for Galio to actually have a target to swoop in on, as well as being able to help Kindred in the early game. It makes the Galio pick make way more sense. And we've seen Reckless and Hylissang execute this bot lane before, even though it might not seem like the strongest laning bot lane. Not a big deal. They're fighting Ezreal, right? So there's a random Lulu, however. Lulu actually is a good punish to weak-ish bot lanes, but Lulu's pretty useless with Ezreal because Ezreal's not auto-attack based. You could make the argument that Lulu's such a good scaler that even a non-auto-attack based hero would be good here, but they're not going to go. They're instead going to go Leona and say, we're going to want some initiative ourselves. So Leona hard switches the direction of this comp, right? I think top could have gone either direction with their last two. These last two picks are what decides what direction top's comp goes in, right? They can either go full reactive, full disengage, or, and of course there's like, this is kind of a binary way to talk about League of Legends. But the other option is, right, more initiate something to go forward, and they go with Leona and Ornn, say that we want some options maybe to get on Kindred in the early game. We don't want Senna to be too free. And I have to agree with top in this situation because I think Poke is just looking really good in the current Worlds meta. Blind Zoe, I think, is looking really good as long as you don't get too bullied in lane. And Fnatic has a comp that doesn't punish Poke too hard, right? The main issue is like if Fnatic keep drafting initiate, like, are you going to be able to properly peel for your carries, you know? But it's a cool looking draft nonetheless. I also like Ornn more when he's not the sole initiator, which he will not be here. Ornn and Leona can go together. And then Fnatic goes for their last pick, and it's, look at that, it's Singed. That's right, that's like an unexpected pick. But what's cool about Singed here, still actually a body for Galio to get in on. So Galio actually has nice targets here, and there's frontliners for Senna to be backing up. The only hero that's kind of like off the mark in the sense of what the comp wants to do is Kindred, but the meta is basically all scaling junglers, and the only one that really follows up well is Nidalee, but her scaling's kind of weird in general, right? And Kindred's not horrible, right? She'll still scale, right? Just like maybe you're not getting the full usage out of her ult. But I honestly think both teams have a decent way to play out this game. A lot of it, I think, is going to be how well on items Zoe and Ezreal do, because poke heroes are a little weaker against tankier heroes. Galio and Singed are going to be decent frontline if they don't get too behind, right? It's not that hard to put Singed behind, right? It's just that you probably don't want to be targeting top lane when you have Ornn, because if you get gold onto Ornn, it's really not a big deal. But it could be helpful to get some extra gold onto Graves if he actually scores kills. But against Singed and the lack of CC, it's probably just going to be pressure if Graves ever shows up and not kills, maybe a flash at best. Probably, you never know, right? But either way, I'm pretty happy with both comps. I think that they actually both have a pretty good way to win. But like in the way of like interestingness, I think that Fnatic has a pretty cool draft. I think my biggest issue with the two comps is even though it's like an OG thing to draft here, I'm not actually gonna watch the game, so let's go back to the draft. Even though like it's kind of like an OG thing to take Zoe and Ezreal together, because you just put your cards on the table and say we're going poke. I have questions about how strong I actually think Ezreal is right now, and there were still a lot of options for Fnatic to put down frontline that Ezreal won't be able to cleave through. Which they did, right? Like, this is tanky enough. Like, it's not impossible to get through. Like, Ornn, if Fnatic had taken Ornn, that would have been compositionally fantastic. It just would have been harder for them to make plays in the early game, especially because they want to get marks onto Kindred. And that's absolutely something that needs to be considered, right? I'm not going to advocate for people to just draft, like, weak scaling stuff. We've seen comps like that lose all the time. Stuff that's too weak in the early game, I'm trying to say. But yeah, I've probably talked about this draft enough. But yeah, as the way the game plays out, if you've watched it, is it looks pretty good for top at the start. I think Karsa plays a pretty great game. Selfmade also finds his own spots really well, despite some counter jungling that works out of Karsa. But ultimately, some back-to-back picks on top win the game for Fnatic. They do have a lot of initiate. And yeah, I won't get into the players' individual performances, but it was a pretty decent game. But here, I'm actually going to do a full analysis of Game 2, and hopefully the rest of the series. And I haven't watched the rest. I only watched the first game, so let's take a look. I'll turn on some game sound.
Game before will have side selection, and therefore top have chosen to stay on the blue side.
Looks like I didn't put it too loud.
Myself, quick shot and ender will bring you all the action of this series, and straight out the gates, Rakan banned from Hylissang. I am not surprised because I think he was
on their side.
Okay, so it's pretty interesting that Rakan gets taken off the table.
Expect to see banned lane here, but instead they act nearly as another very high. They can leave it open.
Okay, so similar-ish bans. But Graves isn't available to be first picked this game. Top has something else in mind. We'll see what they go with, but they have a different strategy that they want to lay down here. They're hovering Senna, but like I would imagine like maybe Nidalee would be the pick, because both junglers are kind of implying that they don't feel like playing Lilia, and you mainly want to play Kindred into Graves. Because Nidalee offers so much early game pressure.
Something open and available and some question marks.
But they do lock in the Senna.
It's going to be the Senna lock-in, so deny that away from Reckless. Put that
so, right, so Senna, scaling option, becomes a very large range threat, but definitely a scaler, and in the early game sort of props up melee heroes. Okay, so Orianna is up this game, and it's pretty... I'm actually not going to turn on sound for the draft, there's no point. This is a pretty flexible comp so far, right? Really, Fnatic hasn't shown their hand at all yet. Showing Tahm Kench shows your hand quite a bit. Ooh, okay. So, there's this thing that people do where they want to play Senna Tahm Kench because it's a strong and very safe lane. It's basically ungankable, so all of the attention can go to other parts of the map. But Tahm Kench is really bad at playing forward. Basically all he can do is peel, which is fine, right? Sometimes that's what you need. But Sylas is like the opposite of that. Sylas is actually pretty terrible when people come into him, depending on what ultimates he has. He definitely wants to go forward, and there's certain heroes that you want to counterpick with Sylas, one of them being Ashe, because he's so good with her ultimate and its AP ratio, but you have to think about well, what does Ashy's ult do for Sylas? It's not a very good peel tool, right? It's not a very good reactive tool. It's something that he's going to want to go in with. So Tahm Kench and Sylas are going to be super mismatched this game, and Top is immediately saying we want to play towards the top side of our map, bot just farm, you know, Senna scale. I feel like Tahm Kench is going to have very little to do this game already. If it's playable, I would definitely recommend Lulu. I talked about in another video that I'm a big fan of Lulu Ashy. Ooh, Braum. Okay, so Braum's a hero that I have very mixed feelings about in regards to if I even think he's a strong hero. He's a favorite of Hillsang's for sure. But I'm not going to get too into it, but a lot of the, like, when people think about Braum, they're like, oh, he's so good because he puts the shield in front of, like, your ranged heroes, and then your ranged heroes can hit them, and their ranged heroes can't hit you. That is a completely unrealistic way for the game to play out, right? That's, like, no one is going to put themselves in range of their opponent's auto attacks and just let all their autos go into Braum wall, right? What usually ends up happening in those scenarios is you just play front to back against Braum, and like if you're just playing front to back, like Braum isn't even very helpful. To me, the best times to choose Braum are when there's like probably more than one ultimate that you really want to shut down. So my favorite Braum picks were in the LPL, when I guess this was spring, when there was a lot of Misfortune and Ornn picked together, because Ornn and Misfortune both have ults that can be denied by Braum, and that's a situation where Braum looks really good. But right now, like Braum's just frontlining Ashy ult that's being stolen by Sylas, and then like maybe he's a little tankier and Senna's not the best at dealing with tanky heroes. It's not feeling it. It's just a safe, rounded pick, so Fnatic doesn't have to show their hand, but I'm not feeling it at all currently. Maybe it's just to like unincentivize picking Ornn, but I don't know. Okay, so seeing a lot of top lane bans come through, not surprising. Neither team has picked top lane. Hecarim is a very good hero with Orianna, and neither team has picked a jungler, which is actually shocking, and no one banned Nidalee or Lilia. It's actually very interesting. I also want to point out there's no priority on Caitlyn so far this series, which isn't that strange based on the players. I really like the Ornn Ori combo. I think it's like one of the easiest and most broken combos that Orianna can go whatchamacallit? What am I trying to say? The improved death cap second, but you definitely don't want to play Ornn into Sylas. So I would hard recommend against picking Ornn here. Okay, so it's interesting, right? Like they thought about it. Like some heroes that you really don't want to play into Sylas are like, he's too good with Ornn ult, too good with Malphite ult, too good with Ashy ult, too good with Hecarim ult. There's certain ults, right? There's now 2 incredible ults for Sylas to take. Okay, so Gangplank is going to fit a lot more with the Senna and the Tahm Kench, and a lot less with the Sylas. Top is, I mean, the scaling option versus Ornn makes a lot of sense, but there's a lot of reactive stuff being drafted, and it's not going to fit with Sylas very well. Oh, this is a very mismatched comp. Ooh, I hate this draft. Yeah, so Gangplank is not good at following things up, and Tahm Kench is not good at following things up, and Jarvan's not good at peeling, and Sylas is not good at peeling. So we basically have Jarvan, Sylas, who all they want to do is go forward, and Tahm Kench, Gangplank, and all they want to do is play back. So we kind of have to look at the other options this comp has, and then we kind of look, okay, well, like, how's their 1-3-1? You know, Sylas is an excellent 1-3-1er, probably going to look really good this game. Gangplank, He's going to be good if he gets isolated with Ornn and gets a chance to take the game late and wait with Senna. Tahm Kench Senna, excellent at 1-3-1 because Tahm Kench can keep Senna safe from all manner of threats. Jarvan, not so good because he's not going to have a good 3-core with Senna and Tahm Kench. Also, just like interesting in general that Jarvan was picked at all with this style of meta where so many things can bully him. And I think part of the reason why Top is so chill picking Jarvan here is because there would be a lot of AP damage if Selfmade went Evelynn, Lilia, Nidalee, right? Like this comp would have so much AP damage that everyone on top would be building Merc Treads, right? So that would be tough. Yeah, Kindred looks like probably the pick here. I think in the past, people considered Jarvan a counter to Kindred because Jarvan gets onto Kindred so easily in the early game. Like, Jarvan Sylas definitely has the possibility to bully Kindred in the early game. I think what will make it difficult is I don't think Sylas can get any lane pressure on Ori. Very mismatched comp on Top's team. I definitely was feeling game one a little more. Fnatic got a lot of the stuff they like, right? A lot of like slow scaling options, but at the same time, they're still going to have the option to make plays because Top basically said, screw it, we're sacking bot. Sylas, very proactive, but going to have difficulty with Ori, and then Top is just a farm off. Sorry, top lane. Yeah, not feeling the draft at all. I think this is a hard win for Fnatic. I think game one was way more even, draft-wise. Maybe like Knight just pops off. I know the result of this game. I'm just saying like what could happen. I gotta turn on some game sound. Why does it stay on the sound when I hit pause?
This agreement to just play around Selfmade, especially in this World Championship, in the meta, we
I hope one of my friends tunes into my stream and tells me if I have game sound too loud. Seems okay right now. Maybe.
There's going to be a little more impetus here, Carson, to get involved and get dirty this game.
Yeah, it's hard to find two champions that are more polarizing in the jungle in terms of how you can make plays around the map. That's actually why we saw Selfmade go from his move up straight to his own red buff, because it's so common to see
mid lane going as expected. Oh my god, look how many biscuits are in this game. Oh my god, there's so many biscuits. Like everyone but Jarvan took biscuits? That's crazy. Is that not crazy? There's definitely some people that feel that biscuits are just a bad item, and I think I usually only think biscuits are good if you're a scaling hero and breaking even or getting ahead in lane is like a big deal, you know? I don't know. I guess you get like the free boots out of Inspiration Tree, so it's hard to say. So that's pretty good. These Mark spawns on the scuttle that Selfmade moved towards. Karsa had a really nice early game in the first game. I think it's going to be way harder for him to actually get anything off this game. Nemesis having trouble rotating here, but Fnatic get out in time and get out Tahm Kench's flash, so that's pretty good. Oh, they're not done. Alright, Fnatic is doing a good job bot lane. Yeah, checking back on this Braum pick, of the way like the draft ended up like rounding out, Braum really has nothing to do here. Like he's basically just blocking Senna autos. It's a really lame use of Braum. How does this happen? I need to talk less, pay attention more. Ooh, Selfmade jumps through. It doesn't actually matter because it wasn't warded. Oh, he doesn't get seen by Jarvan. That's crazy. Everyone TPs immediately. Flash that, nice. They get on Hillsing, good Gangplank barrel. Ornn E is coming in right now. 3-man? 3-man Bella's Breath. Ornn blows up, though. How did they get him so fast? Really good targeting. Good, great shot calling. Wow, that was pretty interesting, though. Nice shot calling out of top. It didn't look like Karsa was going to die. Seemed like he was going to live there. Cool. Karsa lives even though he was the only one that didn't take biscuits. He actually took broken stopwatch. So he is still in the inspiration tree. He has not escaped it. Hey, that was a really interesting way to start the game. I'm so used to these Fnatic games where they commit like 1 billion teleports to Reckless. And I would too, right? Great player. So yeah, I mean, this is already a pretty great lead for top. One thing that I always say about like the best teams in the world is the second something bad happens, they immediately try and bounce. Immediately try and make something positive happen, right? So Fnatic lose the bot fight, but they say, hey, maybe we can just like immediately grab a dragon right after. And the way like the jungle pathing happened and Reckless being able to push out the lane, it's not that surprising that they got it. Karsa's not screwing around in these games. Oh wow, this is interesting. So Karsa goes for the counter jungle. Doesn't drop any wards on the top half of the map, by the way. So they don't know if Selfmade post Raptors walks that way, and Selfmade goes for like kind of a sketchy gank here because he hasn't cleared his top side yet. This would put him behind on jungle farm tempo for sure. But he sniffs out the gank. His gank sense as Kindred in the first game was near perfect, so it's really good again, and he finds that gank, which is strictly against what Top wanted to happen, right? Top drafted a very safe bot lane, saying, okay, Fnatic, you guys aren't targeting bot lane. You know, we got the Tahm Kench Senna, but Tahm Kench Senna pushed up really far, and Kindred is pretty good at catching out Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench doesn't have a lot of abilities to get himself away from Kindred. Karsa just counter jungling non-stop. This is an effect of the bot gank, right? The blue spawns, Selfmade backs, and it's just a good call on Top's part, right? As I said before, right? The best teams, they always just like bounce back with a play of their own once something bad happens. I think that's like a really consistent concept throughout the history of League of Legends. Pippa just staying in this brush. You'd imagine he back there. Guess he ain't feeling it. I guess he never need to back his Ornn. It just seemed like he was a little low on mana. What do I look like, an Ornn player? So much fighting bottom. Tahm Kench walked up really far here. In these fights, you have to imagine if Tahm Kench gets down and dirty like that, he's going to end up losing the trade, but it was pretty even there. One lonely pink ward that Fnatic is placed in Top's bot side jungle. It'll probably be there a while. I'm loving the way Karsa's playing this series so far, by the way. Jarvan is not very much of a scaler. He's like a gank-heavy jungler, something that we haven't been seeing very much this world, so he's got to really try his best to push the tempo, you know? Reckless and Hillsing are not joking around, and it kind of makes sense, right? Because, ooh, that's got to be a kill. Really well played, really nicely played, right? They get the stun onto Jackie Love. Jackie Love probably goes up a step too far. Look at how fast they are on it. They see Jackie Love goes up a step too far. He's got the 2 Braum autos. This is all Hylissang's doing actually. Hylissang lands 2 back-to-back Braum autos, fakes going backwards, throws a Q, immediately jumps forward onto the creep with his W ability. I'm sorry, I went back there. Gets the last auto. That's 4 autos just from Hylissang's Braum. Reckless didn't cast a single one. Throws the ultimate because it's in line to hit both Tahm Kench and Senna. Tahm Kench immediately goes for the Devour, but he's already tagged by the Braum ult. So Reckless just goes in for the ultimate. Tahm Kench isn't running Cleanse. Realistically, I don't think Exhaust saves him. Just really nicely played. Whippo also gets a flash out of 369. Super good as well. Now Selfmade saying, how dare you stay on this wave with no support? And yeah, that's this is some classic Selfmade where he's doing a good job of farming and being super proactive with what is traditionally a scaling jungler. I think Selfmade is by and far one of the best players in the world, and one of the reasons why he's so good is because as farm junglers, he can keep the CS high, the tempo high, keep the pathing on point, while still actually applying pressure. He has the CS of someone that AFK farms while not AFK farming. Just a really great player. Obviously not this game, though. He's doing a lot to match Jarvan. I mean, in general. I think I got distracted, but I was going to say something about how it makes a lot of sense for Reckless and Hylissang to keep going forward on top spot lane, just because the draft made it seem like top was going to mainly focus on the top side of the map. I think Karsa's main job this game is to try and unlock Knight as much as possible so him and Knight can make plays together. Jarvan and Silas both have similar goals and wanting to just dive in, and they're going to be a really strong 2v2. For the most part, though, Nemesis knows what's going on, and he's just playing very safe. Cool. That's just another kill onto cleanseless Tahm Kench. He just didn't take it. Karsa's really trying to get Hylissang here. Double stopwatch. Ooh, they might get Karsa. Yep. Pretty good. That was pretty good of Nemesis to come around the side here. This was nicely played. Nemesis doesn't go just like forward. He goes around the side to create some like zone pressure. Kind of smart, right? Nemesis has been pretty comfortable on this Orianna, I think, throughout the tournament so far. I think we all have like some questions about how he will perform, right? Because a lot of the time he doesn't perform as well as maybe you'd want him to in these high pressure scenarios. Not a bad player by any means, though.
Fnatic are punishing top esports bottom lane. I think it is important to call out.
Is this a... I don't feel like checking. Is this a marked Krugs, though? I feel like it is. They never really show us Kindred marks, so I never know how well Kindred is doing. So Knight got the Ashe ult at some point. I actually wasn't paying attention to that. Nemesis, really clean juke. Also not running cleanse. At worst has to blow flash. Knight's going to want to try and get close to this turret, or maybe 369 to get the plate gold. Right now it's going to Jarvan. Jarvan, not a great target with gold. He doesn't really do anything with gold. So we have to ask ourselves, with this Jarvan, high early game pressure jungler, are top pushing the pressure enough this game to win? They have a decent lead, but it's looking still pretty sketchy, I'd say, at this point. And I didn't realize Tahm Kench is literally 050. Like, it seems like he's dying a lot, but 050 is a lot. He is sprinting it. I think he was playing way too aggressively in lane. The game plan with Senna Tompkins is often to play very aggressively because the lane itself is so safe. But Kindred, pretty decent counter pick, can usually catch Tom if Tom plays up. And even when Jackie Lev and I haven't been saying his name because like I don't know how to pronounce it, but Yuanjia. I haven't really heard the caster say his name either. Yuanjia. Yeah, I mean him and Jackie Lev haven't really seemed to be winning bot lane even when they pressed up. So usually you want to try and 1-3-1 with Silas, get him into a side lane. That's one of his stronger. That's one of the stronger aspects to the champion. GP's got a ton of gold right now. He's doing really well, almost on his second item. He's going to be super accelerated here. Is Herald up? Soon. Self-made Hillsing. Looking at Silas. Pretty much sacking Rift Herald at this point. Karsa is going ham on these Rift Heralds, feeling like the game plan is to go early, win fast. Rift Herald potentially helps you with that. You have options, right? I think with a lot of early game comps, the best possible thing you can do is play for the 4 souls and end the game right there, right? And play for 4 dragons, get the soul, end. That's usually the best way to play early game comps, but it's kind of difficult based on the performance of top esports bot lane, and they drafted to play more towards top side. It doesn't feel like the game plan's working. Like, top has a little bit of a lead, but they'd have to be pretty clean to close this one out. And like at this current frame right here, like a ton of Fnatic have a ton of wards on the bot side, and it's like really hard to pressure in the area where like the bot side where the dragons are. Does Knight die here? Ooh, Knight ults backwards. Knight doing a little shout out to what's his name? I want to say Play Evil, but I'm trying to remember his original name. God V. Doing a little shout out to God V, another mid laner that I watched play in China. So much like God V, I watched God V and Knight play in China, and I thought these guys are sick. Come to Worlds. Knight so far playing pretty well, but he did just not pretty well. He's actually been playing great, but he did just throw his ult backwards. God V on the other hand really disappointed me. Kind of let me down. That's a throwback, by the way.
This is a threat that you cannot disregard. If Selfmade or Reckless get caught by barrels, well,
Silas still in the side lane, trying to generate some. I mean, the lane swap, not lane swap, right? But this lane setup makes a lot of sense, right? Try and get pressure on the bot lane so that dragons are actually a contestable objective. So a big reason why people go Herald ever is just to set up for Dragon. It's one of the stronger applications of it. You either accelerate gold gain with plates because your heroes will spike early, or you just drop it during the Dragon. And those are really the only 2 uses of Herald because it despawns after 20 minutes, of course. Okay, so right here, like I'm trying to visualize how top is going to win this fight. Fnatic is a very straightforward comp to play. It's just a good clean 5v5, you know, not easy to play into. Top, as I talked about before, very disjointed in what their champions want to do. Opening up with the Orinald. Like, the only way I can see this fight winning, I'm serious, like, the only real way I can see it working out is Knight has to land, like, some sort of crazy backline, like, angle with his E, like, hit, like, Reckless or Nemesis and, like, somehow maneuver out of a spell. Like, it doesn't seem doable. But let's see what happens. The Silas ult got a ton, like, the health bar is very low right there, so that was pretty good, but now Silas doesn't have ult. Gangplank saying, I only have so much use right now, I'll tank some dragon hits, pulling it back towards his team, and it's a reset. Interesting, Fnatic is going to call this, saying, we have a scaling comp anyways, we think you have somewhat of an advantage, and you really chunked us with that Orinald, so let's just leave. And I think even as a spectator, like right here when I was watching, I was like, ooh, it's looking not that bad for Fnatic. I think they should just play it out. And I don't disagree with that thought I just had. But it makes so much more sense for them not to fight. It's the first dragon. They definitely outscale. Even if it's like a playable dragon fight, maybe like they only lose one, it makes a lot of sense not to go for it. I should probably be a better analyst and tell them not to go for it from the get-go. There's no rush for Fnatic here, right? Why risk that fight? Doesn't make any sense. Ooh, this is looking good. Nope, don't go for it. Too bad. Looked good, but I also have spectator client. It does make sense for there not to be top camps though, and for Carson not to be there, but not a big deal. I guess maybe Tom Kench could bring people in, that's true. It's a good reason not to go for it. Do they get whip though? That's pretty tanky. They should. There you go. That's really too bad it goes on Tom Kench. That's really unfortunate. Definitely wanted that on Silas. That's kind of sad. Fnatic. I didn't talk about the first game at all. Let's see what happens here. Nemesis playing it clean. Nice, gets the flash out. So as I talked about in the draft, top is probably going to look for somewhat of a 1-3-1, and just because of Silas, and a bad case scenario, like a best case scenario, is Gangplank gets to just farm into Orin in the side lane. What you don't want is leave Gangplank with Ori. Like I've seen this hundreds of times. Ori just beats up Gangplank in the side lane. It's too hard for him to do stuff. Too hard for him to farm. But I was going to say something before I said that. Always so many thoughts about League of Legends. It's so few words. Shit, what was I going to talk about? I guess I don't remember. Can't have been that important. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I didn't talk about the game. I didn't do like an analysis of game one, but I was a really big fan of the way Fnatic played their lane setups. I thought that was like the best part of their gameplay in game one, and they seem to be really clean on it today, and they're doing a nice job of lane setups again today. I think they're very aware of their objectives. And I definitely can see top doing better if they clean up and identify where they're going wrong in their own lane setups. Ooh. I think I talked too much during this. Let's watch for real. So it gets the Orin ult, that's what he wanted to get. Ton of damage on the Kindred. Selfmade saying, I've been here before, gonna drop the ult because I know I'm gonna die. Knight literally last second Janyas, which is great. He's gonna also get the Kindred heal here. Tries to get that Q off. Really wants this Q on Kindred. Kindred jumps back. Can drop the Q. Doesn't quite get it. Notices immediately he's not going to get it. Jumps in. I imagine to go for a W. Gets Ash arrowed as he flashes in. Reckless is really close. Oh, it's so clean. What a good Ash arrow. Good teamwork. Hillsang doing the classic, getting caught for no reason here. He actually is going to live. Nice. Ooh, oh, nice combo. Barrel combo. Oh, nice triple barrel. Really clean. Ooh, Selfmade's actually was very close to dying there. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what the doctor ordered. It seems like basically a one game from my perspective here. I think top's comp is way too mismatched. It's going to be too hard for Gangplank to get his damage off even when he's scaled, and Senna still is quite a while to go. It would take like some... This composition is way too much. Just yo Knight, just go outplay them. Like there's not enough of a focused goal for what he should be doing. It's like when TSM drafts Bjergsen LeBlanc in like a non-LeBlanc comp. It's just like, do Bjergsen, do the thing, kill everyone. It's like, you know, or like when DRX was giving Chovy Galio. Come on, Chovy, just, you know, carry the game. It's like, come on, coaches, give your mid laners something to work with. And here we go. The spectators brought us in at a weird time here. So, so top is probably feeling like we need to play for dragons to win this game. At this moment, I'm not sure what top is supposed to do, because I think winning fights are going to be really hard, and they need their scaling options to get stronger. But if they don't contest things, I think they also just lose the game. So it's very hard to pinpoint what top should do here. Waiting for their own scaling options isn't going to cut it versus Kindred here, I don't think. And the Ornn items are just spiking now. Oh, I guess I never talked about this, mainly because I didn't notice. I wasn't thinking about it. But Nemesis didn't do what I literally think is one of the most broken combos in the game, which is buying a death cap second as Ori. He just didn't do it. I think it's like crazy strong when you have Ornn if you just go death cap second. I'm shocked. Here goes wide. The Ornn does get his ult on, and now top needs to get back in, but like walking forward in a 5v5 just doesn't work. Like Knight needs to just Knight just needs to outplay, and that's not a reasonable game plan. He needs to see something that I can't see as like a weaker player. And someone that has the observer view. Like he would just need to find something. He would just need to be sick, and I don't know if it's possible. It's just two good teams going at it. It's too hard to say be sick. Alright, Whippo does not have TP right now. Does he have TP for real? I don't remember. It's just a matter of him smiting to get it back in a couple seconds. Ooh. And immediately, Karsa looks for the initiate. It looks decent, right? It looks pretty good. Did they see Ashy back on Vision? Where is Ashy back? Did they see him? Looks like Gangplank sees him here. Yeah, it looks like Gangplank sees him, and Karsa immediately goes. This fight makes a lot of sense. Really, I mean, Karsa, I'm so far really feeling the way Karsa's been playing the series. I don't know, like, I just think the draft is awful this game, and, like, I don't even know if Jarvan's a good hero, but that was a very good attempt. He was so fast on the trigger. He's not screwing around, right? He's like, I genuinely want to win Worlds. That is, like, an important goal to me. Super happy with how Karsa's been playing so far. Through the whole tournament. I'm ready to close out this game because it looks like it's unwinnable, but Whippa does not have his TP, Nemesis does, and Fnatic plan on ending this with a 1-3-1. They've gotten a decent amount of gold off this Baron, but no inhibitors. Not like the greatest Baron, but they definitely pushed up Vision. We're able to farm minions, we're able to take a couple turrets, so useful nonetheless. And plus, you know, Baron just gives gold itself, and now it's on Soul Point. Definitely just seems like Fnatic fully win this game. I feel like I should just close out, honestly, so we'll just start skipping forward. But I hope everyone's appreciating Fnatic's lane setups this game. I think this is now 2 games that they've had pretty good lane setups. Okay, so Whippo, I don't even know what we're watching, but Whippo lands an Ornn ult here, finds a nice angle, actually ends up hitting 4. Tom Kench is totally in the wrong place. What is even going on? So he feels like he's caught Nemesis. I don't know why we're looking at this. But to actually help in the fight, Tom Kench needs to be peeling, but he thinks he's made a pick. And when you're in such a desperate spot, this is like a big thing, big like me versus Reddit thing. But even though Tom Kench has been inting this game, when the game's going poorly, you just have to take low percentage things. You just have to try. You have to play with a little heart, right? Tom Kench thought maybe he could make a pick here. I totally agree with him going for it. This game looks super doomed. just try. You know, I'm happy you tried there. Hill saying, did the best thing Brahm's going to be able to do this game and block Silas taking Ornalt. He has, like, no purpose this game, though. He looked, like, decent, but I think other supports hit the spot better. I really have to close this game out. It's so done. Fnatic's just playing it slow. It's Infernal Soul. They're getting Baron. I just want to skip through. I don't care anymore. It's so over. It's also, I should say it is partially because I've seen the result of each game. So like I know there's not going to be an upset. I guess we can watch this one. We'll watch this the one last fight, and then I'm just closing out. I don't care what else happens. It's an Ornald plus Ashy Arrow onto Jarvan. Jarvan has not stone plated yet. Orn's in front. Gangplank's going to want to look for a barrel combo here if possible. Now comes the Silas ult, but I mean that's already the dragon. They weren't able to steal it. Oh, look at that! Did you see the damage there? That's Silas with Ornald is just super strong. He's just going to explode. He got dragon buffed. Okay, I'm just closing. I don't want to watch this anymore. We're going to the next game. Cool, cool, cool. How am I doing on time? Yeah, we can get... Can we get all the games in? Well, is that just a ridiculous YouTube video? Is that too much? I don't know. Whatever. Here's game 3 of Top versus Fnatic. Worlds 2020. Let's mute game sound for the draft. Okay. So, Top's going to be feeling the pressure here. They're down 2-0 as one of the tournament favorites. Second game just seemed like a draft difference. First game, yeah, Fnatic played really well, right? Karsa is still feeling himself, so I'm feeling good about Karsa. I hope Knight isn't like tilted after being given like a bad draft, because I feel like I would be. But yeah, the main change here is instead of Rakan, Leon is banned. It's kind of hard to conceptualize. I don't know if I should say conceptualize. It's just hard to think about why Top thinks Leona should be banned over Rakan. They're both initiate heroes and both set up with Galio. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely some sort of chain of thinking where I don't know why Rakan isn't going to hit the spot for them. I'm not sure what they're thinking. I'm not trying to imply like they're wrong. It's just like they have like some plan, and I'm not sure what it is. Okay, so Orianna first picked. Definitely not something I expected to be first picked. But yeah, Nemesis has been crushing it, and if we can take him down a peg, that sounds pretty good to me. He definitely didn't play Galio perfectly mechanically in the first game. He was in all the right places, but from like an individual standpoint, he could have played better for sure. Ornn Jhin. So that's pretty good, right? Get the Jhin pick. They're saying Jhin is what we want here for whatever sequence of drafting they've planned up. And the best stuff to counter Jhin is tanks, right? Jhin is not good at consistent DPS and melting tanks. He's better on squishy targets. Ornn, best tank in the game by far at this current moment. Or at most, like, safe, right? Reliable scaling option. So get him off the table. So we'll pick him with the Jhin. And either you don't have a tank now, or you're going to have to draft a lower tier 1. Interesting. So going Sion here makes me think that they were worried about it getting banned in second rotation. Or maybe not, right? Maybe they just aren't keen, or maybe they're just not feeling any power picks in this phase of the draft. Going back to Ezreal. No, I hate Ezreal here. All we've seen is Ornn, which he can't really cleave through it, and Jhin. Oh, I hate Ezreal here. Okay. Ezreal will have a tough time laning. Maybe, right? He's a very safe pick. There is the Rakan. So, Top didn't want to fight Initiate this game. Ezreal will have an easier time living Leona than Rakan. So maybe that was their thought process. We have a comp here that we're interested in picking Ezreal with. Kind of seems like they want to sack bottom lane again. But top is tank v tank, so like getting the gold off killing top is going to be not very helpful. We can assume that mid pressure will be fully in top esports favor, seeing as the only champions that can contest Ori in Lucian and Syndra are off the table. If top is interested in getting rid of Galio, they can do it now. I wonder what scrims were like for Yumi to be getting banned, because I don't think we've seen her yet, unless I'm forgetting a game. Akali. Nemesis definitely doesn't play my favorite Akali. There's a lot of holes in the way he plays it, but I also think Akali is just very strong and hits some spots very hard. My favorite time to pick Akali is when there's a comp that goes forward but leaves backliners unattended. I think Akali's Shroud hits the biggest spot in that scenario. And I don't think that's necessarily the comp that top have just yet. But they banned it regardless. Also saying, Selfmade, you've been doing a little too well as Kindred. And I don't really know what everyone's thinking for jungle. Kindred's off the table, so I feel like it opens up some options. I'm shocked no one's feeling Nidalee yet. Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz is definitely going to be able to cleave through Sion, but also going to have nearly zero pressure in the early game versus Ori. So whatever jungler top pick is going to be able to whatever jungler top is going to be able to get a lot of work done here. Lee Sin. So we've seen Lee Sin's been doing very poorly at World so far, but one of the reasons is he mainly only comes through to fight the fast farming junglers that are meta right now. And I mean, Lilia and Nidalee are still up, right? These are options. Wow. Okay. Karma. Please don't beat us up bot lane. It keeps happening. Okay, what a weird draft. So top is playing... there's actually nothing special about top's comp whatsoever. It's like there's like nothing... like it's so standard looking, right? It's like front to back, caster, Ezreal, Lee Sin's like the ganker, right? Like these champions don't have real synergy. I don't think they're really countering things. The main stuff to look at is no one's feeling the farming, or Karsa is down to not play a farming jungler in this scenario. Sion is the tanky champion that they want to deal with Jhin, right? If Jin's shown early, you may as well draft tankier heroes. And the Karma, I think, really doesn't fit this comp at all. I think she's literally here because it's like, please don't shit on us bot lane for the third game in a row. That's really what this Karma pick feels like to me. Hecarim looks mediocre here. I don't know what he's going to pick. We'll see. Ooh, it's a Kha'Zix. He actually goes for it. So Kha'Zix looks decent here. As a Tarzan viewer, yeah, I mean, right, Kha'Zix is like a farming jungler that has dueling capabilities in the early game, so you get a little bit of a mix of what you need. Kind of trying to visualize what sort of comps he's actually good in is confusing for myself personally, but he's like a good hero at dueling and farming, you know. But like trying to think of like what comps are really helpful for him, a little confusing. But anywho, we look at Fnatic's comp, right? You just look at this bot lane. So much initiate. We can just cover what the other three heroes are and say Jhin and Rakan are going to make setting up for things really easy. And then like Vel'Koz is more of like a standstill, just like 5v5 comp. He'll have a really tough time following up on initiates. It looks like he's just there to cleave down Sion. I believe that's his main function in this game. Since Jhin won't be capable of killing Sion, I think that responsibility is left up to Vel'Koz. Sion probably needs to get an adaptive helm as early as possible. Adaptive helm is also quite good into Ornn's W. Yeah, Vel'Koz mainly doesn't fit the comp. Top's comp is just like super straightforward. Like it's like so standard looking. It's just like front to back, initiate out a Sion, maybe some initiate out a Lee Sin. They can go together, and like Lee Sin's just playing straight ganking jungler. The only thing that doesn't make sense is Karma, and I think just there to help with laning. So the question is, whose comp do I like better? I mean, we don't always have to ask this question. I don't think initiating is that helpful coming out of Fnatic's comp, and it's going to be really hard for Vel'Koz to get in. A lot of this game is going to be shaped by how snowballed Kha'Zix gets in the early game, and I don't think it's easy for him to get snowballed. If he does, the path to winning this game seems a lot easier. But okay, so I think for the most part, I like Fnatic's comp because there's like good engage options with Rakan, Jhin, and Ornn. But I kind of feel like they're just straight gonna lose the game off of having low mid lane pressure. Like Orianna is gonna give so much more space than Vel'Koz is going to. Even if we recognize Vel'Koz's only purpose here is to kill Sion, adaptive helm hits too hard here. I'm not feeling it. I think just based off early game pressure, Knight has way too much space to work with. Him and Karsa are, yeah, I think Knight and Karsa just have too much space here. We'll see what happens. By the way, Kevin, I do see you in chat. I just doing my thing. Okay. Turn on game sound. Oh, please tell me if I put game sound too loud because I've been putting it on and talking over it.
Two of them being world finals, and for Fnatic, they'll need to do it again next week. If, a side note, Fnatic are looking for
yeah. I do look like a hobo.
If they can do it, they will have had a
No, don't be concerned. It's pretty fun.
LPL representatives.
Also, when you go out, you wear a mask, so like nobody knows I'm a hobo. It's like a secret. Yup. Here we go. We have Karma to help us lane. You may have beaten us badly bottom 2 games in a row for no reason, but this 3rd game we will draft Karma. It's kind of silly, isn't it? Nemesis is running the Glacial Augment. I think that's like beyond standard on Vel'Koz at this point.
It's going to be a tough spot, but when you see how much pressure into an Ezreal...
I haven't like talked about jungle pathing at all in these games. I've just been saying, good invade Karsa. So maybe I'll pay attention a little more this game. So far it's like really standard. I mean, I think there can't even be... I think there can't even be like adaptations really. I don't think Lee Sin will go for an early gank. Nowhere makes sense. Bot's going to be pushing up and it's hard to gank for. Top lane is 2 tanks. So like whoever, like if Lee Sin ganks top, he's either getting gold on himself or Sion. And if Lee Sin gets the gold, like that's the only way it could help, and like he would have to snowball a lead from there. It's really futile. Just due to clear speeds, Karsa's going for a crab. Selfmade is finishing up his full clear, and then he'll go for crab. Not a big deal. Yeah, I did enjoy that. Ooh, wow. Okay, I didn't expect Selfmade to go for a gank here. As I said before, his gank sense has been really good in the first 2 games. I don't know if this one's gonna hit. It looks like it is a flash though. I don't know if it's gonna be a kill. But you would have expected him to just go crab, so it's not unheard of for Sion to have to blow flash here, because I'm surprised too. Whoa, this is interesting. Lee Sin's already... I wasn't paying attention. Lee Sin was already well on his way to take both crabs. He doesn't go Krugs. He specifically didn't go Krugs because he planned on double crabbing here. He's already on his way. If Selfmade had done the crab here, he would have had it before Lee Sin made it over. Interesting. Selfmade was just too scared to go for it because he thought Lee Sin was already going to be here. I'm not sure why. There was some sort of missed information in the early game. So, okay, so standard pathing, right, would be Lee Sin... We can go back and watch it. So standard pathing is Lee Sin does red side, right, and then jungles his way up to crab, which kind of gives him the ability to pressure both crabs. But I think they would have had the information that Lee Sin didn't start red side, but I didn't pay that much attention, so we'll actually go back and look, why not? Oh wait, I got super mixed up. He did start red side. It was red blue. Both go red blue because they're Kazakh's Lee Sin.
Almost unbeatable, and the lack of immediate sniping vision to their advantage. CS to 3, they're under their tower, and you expect this into an Ezreal combo. And I am going to go back to something you said during draft, and Jackie Love's Ezreal that we saw earlier was an anomaly.
And then, like, I mean, like, crab doesn't come up for a while. Like, Selfmade thinks that, I guess Selfmade thinks that Karsa goes crab right here, like, topside crab. I see. So Karsa thinks that, or sorry, Selfmade thinks that Karsa goes topside crab after doing topside, and because Sion walks over, but he actually doesn't. And since Selfmade finishes his clear on topside because he just goes for a straight full clear, he just goes for a gank because he literally has nothing to do because he assumes that crab is down. Cool. And then Karsa just doubles back because he thinks that Selfmade hasn't done it. Because even before Selfmade shows, Karsa has already doubled back in that direction. Cool. Cool. Also good of Selfmade. Like, it also just, like, makes sense for Selfmade to full clear because you don't want any smoke from Lee Sin, you know? And now, since they're... Okay, so, right, now Fnatic is confused about where Karsa is because they thought he did the top side crab earlier, and they thought that he just finished the bot side crab. Yeah, it does, Kevin. So this is a super unexpected gank on top. It's like back-to-back 2 unexpected ganks because Fnatic have a very bad read on where Karsa goes. The first gank is unexpected. I mean, I explained everything already. I don't need to repeat myself.
Ill-advised, I think, for Karsa to spend too much time around the top side of the map, especially with Selfmade coming off of the reset, because you can already see a discrepancy in the early items because Karsa went for that gank in the top lane after the full clear. He's now sort of stuck in his jungle, clearing it one more time while Selfmade already has the red smite, which is always going to give him the edge if those junglers ever meet.
Unfortunately, it was just a flash out of Ornn though, so it was just as helpful as Selfmade's.
They are down 10 CS. There's a few minions in front of them, but it's still big advantage to Jackie Love from the laning phase. I want to zoom out and just talk about the Lee Sin for a brief moment. It is one of the picks that...
That's a good point, yeah. Whippo does have to blow TP to get back lane. Good point. Which is, yeah, a big advantage. So obviously bot lane's going way better because they drafted a hero that's basically all lane phase. Depending on your comp. Also depending on how you personally feel Karma's strength is, especially after recent nerfs. I think there's a good chance that I personally feel like she's just in general kind of weak, but maybe you really need to stop the bleeding bot lane. I don't even know how good I think Ezreal is this game. Ooh. Close.
Below 50 HP will survive just long enough, held on to summon a heal. I would have hit that button for sure. But Reckless respecting and walking away. Trade of ignites from both.
Yeah, I'll see how I feel about the draft in the last game, see if it made sense. It didn't make sense in the second game, I'll tell you that much.
Important to continues to chase. Reckless is waiting in the wings. The Sonic Wave didn't find his target though. Nemesis and Knight, they are chasing. Top Esports will start to back away.
It's a win for Fnatic whenever it slows down.
Selfmade getting a little pulled around this game. He's gonna wanna just farm a solo kill. So Sion has like a slide lane advantage on Ornn. You also have to ask yourself like how good is gold on Sion? Oh, he starts a Sheen, so his damage is definitely going to be more amplified than you expect. I haven't seen Frozen Fist Sion in a minute.
He used his teleport earlier in the lane phase as well, so 369 on this Sion with a Sheen first purchase.
I'm reading what you're writing, Kevin. I'm just gonna try like not responding to everything you say, just because I'm probably gonna put this on YouTube.
Well, that's going on 10 CS advantage tonight in the middle lane. Right out the gate, 1,000 gold.
Right, Karsa invading for the 100th time this game. I mean, I would too if my mid laner was Knight. Ooh, nice. Really fast, clean, immediately into the ult. So nicely played. So nicely played. Show us Selfmade's camp. Come on. Is he laughing? Someone show us. You guys are no fun. Really clean, really fast. That's like high level worlds play, right? Don't give him a chance to react.
This is something we've seen demonstrated really cleanly from the LPL teams of yesterday's BO5 and today's.
Once again, we talked about this. You have to imagine that Lee Sin's going to play more towards top side, right? They have the wards up on that side again, right? Similar to Game 2's game plan. Hopefully, even though they're playing towards top side, they can secure more dragons off of picking up heralds this game. Because last game they got heralds, could not convert them to dragons. But it's probably just because bot got a little too shit on. And once again, I just did not like the draft. Not that draft always matters. Sometimes you just play sick, and that's life. Sometimes you're just on champions that you feel really good on, you know? Yeah, it happens. Selfmade, if he's anything, is proactive. Alright. So, a bad use of time in the sense that it's currently a 1-for-1. They're super unaware of Nemesis's movement here. Since when does Nemesis move? They gotta get him. We want this on Kha'Zix? Looks like they gave it to Nemesis. Yeah, so, I mean, right. Doesn't matter what type of jungler Selfmade is, he's gonna look for those ganks. So Karsa and Selfmade are just having a really good series. I'm really impressed by both of them so far. They are trying hard.
Can Fnatic find more of these picks? They are still down.
Why is 369 just feeling himself so much on Sion? So even this 1-for-1 already, like, it's a bad use of time, but it's really important to get gold onto Kha'Zix. So even if this follow play didn't happen onto JackeyLove, we can almost say even just the first kill is worthwhile because we start getting Kha'Zix ahead. Which I think is instrumental if Fnatic want to win this game. Like, as I said in the draft, I think the easiest way to win this game is to get the ball rolling on Selfmade.
That matchup that's a few years in the making. Fnatic can just targets the bottom lane over and over.
Top is playing exactly to how the draft implied they were going to play, towards top side. Ouch. There's the Glacial Fist. So he's going to be a little stronger laning than the average Sion. Is that build standard right now? I have no idea. I used to love that build. It's the sort of build that I would probably still go if I still played Sion.
They've now moved towards the mid lane. Keep your eyes on Cost. Can come in behind Nemesis.
Yeah, well, it was a good play. Oh,
Whippo's going to try and clear the wave with his ult. Doesn't look like he dies here. Did he the flash? I mean, doesn't matter. It's saving the HP, whatever. He thinks Karsa's here too. So flash actually definitely makes sense in the with the perspective that he probably thought Karsa was there for a 3-man. And it was easy for Karsa to be there, right? I mean, Karsa wasn't there. I'm saying, like, he could have been immediately there to kill him. He was on top side, but he wasn't, like, there. He was on Raptors.
You know, it's rare you see patience on the Herald usage right there, but I think it's absolutely the right call from Karsa holding on to that.
Nemesis is just holding this no problem. You have to think that Vel'Koz is just going to be able to hold waves like that. They are going, that's super clean, but they're just going in on my man Blippo here. Ooh, Selfmade goes down. Selfmade feels pressured to make a play. He jumps in. Maybe, I don't know if they'll show us a replay. I'm just looking at minimap right now. He really wants Karma there. Possibly with flash up, Selfmade is able to finish him, but I guess their flashes are synced anyways.
Nemesis had no mana, so he was trying to, get back to base somehow, and Selfmade sees support, tries to kill it, but Jackulov did not. For Karsa, they got
not great. Not great on Selfmade. What the hell is happening now? Oh god, get out! That was funny. That was pretty good, actually. That was funny looking, but it was actually pretty high level. Also, it's a TP trade, not just like a straight getting caught. Glad they're showing us a replay. Oh, his Q gets cancelled? No, it definitely gets shielded. That's just shield. Wait. So he's isolated? Loses the isolation. Wait, does it get cancelled? Oh yeah, it's not shield, it gets cancelled. So that's really sad. And then he gets the healing from Empowered W. That's pretty sad. Shit.
So there's no one shot to be had. That's crazy.
Watch the HP on that renewal. That Mantra W just flying up, and Jackulov had summon a heal as well, which he stepped forward to use, also helping out. But after 13 minutes, top Esports are now 2,500 gold up. All of a sudden, Fnatic are
Sion cancels Vel'Koz E with his ult, thinks he's literally going to get global. He's no MR yet, so maybe, but maybe more importantly, he just wants to be able to stay in lane without blowing teleport, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Nevertheless, Nemesis does catch him out there. Now Nemesis is super pushed up. He assumes Lee Sin's not here because his team moves into the bot side jungle. Yeah, they have a super bad read on where Karsa is. He flashes, lands the E, but it's not enough. Just had a bad read. They hard thought Karsa was on top side. And there wasn't like a ton of reason for him to be bot side. Yeah, I mean, Karsa is just playing straight mind games this whole series about where he is on the map. Just super intelligent. It's funny how these past 2 games, the wards have been like so similar. Like Fnatic's just got the whole bot side warded, and top has the whole top side warded. Here we go, 40 seconds to Dragon. This is going to be a late back out of Reckless and Hylissang. It's not the worst thing in the world because they do have Initiate. They don't need to necessarily be at the fight first, but they're definitely going to be late for the setup. They're in base at 30 seconds. Like they'll get there before it's up, but if top chooses to set it up right now, Fnatic won't be standing in front of it first. Knight has pushed up bot lane for free. He's probably... yeah. Okay, hold on. So Nemesis rotates over. Both mids are... Both mid lane waves have been equalized, and Fnatic gets a ward up in mid lane, so that'll net them a little extra pressure. But they have no one catching the bot creeps, and now Knight isn't going to want to walk through river, so he's going to go around the back. He's being a little indecisive. He doesn't know if he should just go around through the river. Now he's grouping with his team. Makes a lot more sense. Or he's not going to be able to do much flanking here. Orange staying in the brush. The brushes are being checked by Ori Ball and now Pink Ward. And wow, that's an aggressive TP out of 369. You don't necessarily have to do this because Scion ult is an initiate spell itself, and the only bad person for him to hit is Ornn. Okay, so this is already very interesting how this starts. Fnatic realizes they want to get this and get out because 369 is coming in with the teleport, and Bwipo is now syncing all this happening with his ult at the same time. It does look like Fnatic basically 100% have this dragon. Yep. So Karsa goes in, tries to get it, gets out immediately, very clean, very fast. And now Scion barrels in. They still feel like they can win the fight. Ornn will be at their backline, but they're down to literally walk past him. It's looking really clean at this point. So the one person that Scion can't hit with his ult is Ornn. I think Ornn ulting and being where he is makes it that 100% Fnatic will get Dragon, and it looks pretty good. But at this point, a couple seconds into the future, it looks a lot worse because you immediately realize there's no one to tank Scion ult and there's no one to stop the initiate. And top's already ready to move forward. They're already ready to just like tank the Ornn, Bellows Breath, and autos. They don't care. Ornn's already like piecing because he doesn't think he can go in. And that's a big ult out of 369. Beats a Pilsing. Cursa gets his Q off. He's probably gonna die. Ooh, that was a really good flash forward out of 369. This guy is feeling himself on the Scion. Moves forward with the flash. I'm pretty sure that was Nimbus Cloak? Movement speed? He looks really fast when he comes out of flash. What are his runes? Doesn't it look fast? Or does it not? I have no idea what he ruined. Done. Gives it to Ori. Perfect. Goes right onto Knight. Karma speed? Yeah, maybe that was Karma speed. Good point. That probably makes more sense.
Still on the chase there. Top, great job fighting around that objective inside the river. It's been a problem for them in the past, but they made it work here, and they're going to get so much of it as well. Getting that bot lane turned on top.
Man, that's the third tower secured by Top Esports. Yes,
yeah, that was clean.
You got the dragon, but man, what?
So it's like it's not like that easy to like think about on the fly or even in draft, right? It's like so obvious when we have a spectator here and we just like we just take a breath and we think about it. It's like, okay, like Scion just when he's ulting, he just needs to not hit like a tank, you know? And Bwipo's just trying to like zone, but at this point, like it's so funny. Like right here, it looks fine. You know, it's like okay, he's flanking, but like Fnatic's probably gonna get Dragon. The Ornn ult's probably gonna zone. But the second he actually gets in, you realize how bad it looks. Like what's like at this frame, you're like, wait a minute, this is awful.
It seems like a huge commitment for them because you look at the levels, the items, it's all favored. With the early lead they have, you see the gold right there.
Yeah, all these kills went on to Knight. That's ideal.
Fantastic turn. They were one of the stop pushes in the team fights. This time around, this is slightly different look in the draft. And
it looks like so. I think straight. No, I don't know. I don't really know how to build Vel'Koz. Leandri's is just like a super good item on him because the way he does like prolonged damage. But once again, Nemesis is going to be missing second item Spike that's upgradable by Ornn. So I don't know. It's debatable whether like you think that's correct or not. I think like one of the strongest parts of having Ornn is getting second item upgrades onto mid laners. Although I will say in the first game, I kind of think Knight should have waited for his third item death cap before upgrading. I'm not sure if upgrading the Ludens was worthwhile, just because it seemed like the pace of the game was slow, and it didn't seem like top was going to be closing it out anytime soon. But yeah, I don't really know Vel'Koz builds. It might be like impossible to go death cap second on him. Pretty useful rift. Feeling really strong. And I mean like with our omnipotent spectator view, we can see top is just like a ton of gold up. My main, as I talked about, my main issue this game, right, we talked about this during the draft, like, Fnatic's draft looks fine. It just seems like Ori's gonna have way too much freedom to do whatever she wants, right? And yeah, Knight is killing it, you know? Yeah, he has too much freedom. That's what it feels like right now. And top probably wants to look for the end sooner than later, and they're being very clean about how they're executing the rest of this game. Going for turrets, using the Rift Herald well, not sinking the bot wave so they can go group on it as 5 momentarily after. I think like the one factor that we didn't expect was so far a very monstrous performance of a 369. He's just playing great this game. He seems super comfortable on Sion. I mean, we've seen him play it before. We know he's comfortable on it, but he's having a very good game.
It would be and a Dusk Blitz the Dragon so they can get the mid tower, get their jungle camps back. Because fight right now down 6 towers to none. They don't have any inner towers left to 20 minutes. That is huge.
This is weird. Okay, so go for another invade. They're super strong. Got to be super proactive on the ball. Want to end the game now, you know, before Orin items come in. I think top is going to be pretty. They're going to feel pretty good in a, even like 10 minutes from now, honestly, because of Ezreal. But we may as well try and close it to make sure that things don't get sketchy. Playing for red, this is kind of interesting here. So the Sion Q does hit Selfmade, so they see he's walking towards them. They're not actually going to get debated. Sion thinks he doubled back though, so he walks forward, but Selfmade literally just jumps in. He actually seems to land isolated damage here. Ooh, yeah, he just gets wiped. Definitely an ambitious play. Reckless jukes, but no one blocked Sion, so Sion's kind of in his face. Doesn't get too much, but Selfmade is dead, and top will continue their push. Now dropping back towards Baron. Fnatic might want to consider rushing down Dragon and 50-50ing Infernal Soul. They're so far behind on gold, it might just be worthless, but I think it's something they should consider. Yeah, they're running a Dragon. Whippo's kind of faking like more of them are here. 369 has walked over already. This guy is too strong right now. Oh, I should point out, he didn't go Adaptive Helm. Seems like a miss-buy, right? He should have bought Adaptive Helm. Or is it bad because you don't get flat HP for Valkyrie's true damage? I don't actually know the numbers. I'm not sure. I would have to check it out. So Fnatic do get it, so they are on soul point. Oh, interesting. We go for a fight here. Okay. So 369 is trying to buy time, let Ori get here, and this engage looks pretty clean right here. Right, Hillsing is super quick on the trigger, gets right on to Knight. Pick here would definitely slow down the game, which is what Fnatic needs. Yeah, looks good. Might have been overly ambitious from top Esports. I guess the question we're asking ourselves now is, can they get anything back? It doesn't look that good for top. I feel like Fnatic can still win this fight, even from this point, but we'll see. Whippo gets the double knockup before dying. Top's just dealing a lot of... They just have a lot of gold. I don't think this fight looks that bad for Fnatic. Top just has a lot of gold. Like, Hillsing gets really rolled even though he's in there for 2 seconds. Oh no. How much damage is Karsa doing right now? Okay, so Karsa does a kick flash, right? He wants to try and knock Selfmade into everyone else, but he dies too quickly. Whoops. Ooh, Jackie Love is running it. Okay, so Karsa then has to bail out Jackie Love, so he goes back in, but he dies midair because he hits the Vel'Koz Q, and Jackie Love ends up living. Yo. Why did Jackie Love do his jungler like that? Ooh, wow, great ult.
Almost finishes him the fight. Back in there.
But, like, Karsa's been so good to you, Jackie Love. Why did you do that to him?
Words to explain what is happening. As we come out of the replay, Yuyanji is dead.
Is there some bad blood there I don't know about?
Get an assist from, and could be the hit thing. Replay view.
So really, the Lord Dominic's after Trevor. This right here is a positive gaming experience.
So far in the series, top has been way more about grouping on the wave together, as opposed to pushing the lanes in together to end. And it might be hard to group versus Vel'Koz, right? Might just be hard to straight push through a turret. Catching people in jungle and suffocating Kha'Zix out of farm seems like a reasonable way to play this out, because Kha'Zix is grossly behind at this point. He's like pretty useless. Fnatic, with their dear life, trying to ward up topside. Probably because they're going to have to push through there in 2.5 minutes to get to Baron, or at least going to have to push through there to place more wards.
So let's look at the stakes of the minimap.
Looking around, trying to hold at least one part of the map. 369 was going for a little bit of a flank. He is so tanky. Knight keeps TPing the lanes. I mean, Ori's not much of a flank hero, so makes sense. I think, you know, I think Knight knows how to play Ori. I'll trust his call on these TPs. Alright, so we're in a funny spot where Baron's not quite up yet, and top probably need another Baron to end the game, mostly by virtue of Vel'Koz holding waves really well. They can suffocate Kha'Zix out of the jungle, but they're probably gonna have trouble cracking the base right now without another Baron buff. And Fnatic is on soul point, so top is gonna have to play for this soul. I am really surprised that top isn't committing more people to the soul, and they're not expecting Selfmade just to look for a straight steal. Like, you have to assume that this was Fnatic's plan. Yeah, I mean, top's kind of baiting. I think finishing this is so weird. I think it's so standard, so expected for Selfmade to just be looking for this. I mean, like, they start looking for him, right? But, like Dragon's already really low at this point. Okay, I think, like, it's fine, right? Like Lee Sin's 2 levels up and one of the best smiters in the game. You know, odds are top has it. I think they could have played a little bit more slowly, just in case. Maybe Fnatic get Infernal Soul, it doesn't even save them. But, you know, just in case, right? Can we play it a little safe? You know? Whatever.
While top esports may be beaten, bloodied, and bruised through the first 2 games.
And this has to be game, I think. I don't know how long Fnatic can stall this one out. Like, sometimes, like, stalling out from this point is, like, winnable. I just think, like, Kha'Zix isn't going to get strong enough for anything at this point to matter. Also, like, look at the lack of Ornn items that everyone has, because, like, no one really built Ornn items. That, I don't know. Everyone can tell me if we all think that, like, the Ornn pick makes sense and the itemization makes sense. I don't know. This will go on tonight. He's flashed away. Does not get caught by the knockup, but 369 is teleporting in behind. Selfmade is so low. He's forced to hop over the wall. Elisang will be able to dance over himself, and now all of a sudden Reckless is low. Remember, no flash, no heal. Teleport was committed from 369, and now top esports going to group up. Yeah, it's just like hard stalling is, it just isn't that good when you got Kha'Zix. Selfmade just not quite able to find the kills he needed. A lot of pressure was probably on him this game to perform, because this was a big portion of this comp, I feel.
However, Top Esports will easily be able to pick up the second inhibitor. There's no real initiation tools without Delisang or Bwipo's ultimates, and now Top 369 stepping forward. Blowing up the miniway, Baron empowered cannon minions, 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, this super looks like game. Like 10k gold up. Very much looks like game. So what do we think, everyone? Was Ezreal good here? Seemed like whatever. Maybe it was good because Fnatic couldn't pressure bot as hard as they wanted, right? Probably could have pressured harder if it was another AD carry combination, you know? Because like Senna Tom didn't work that well. Karma probably fits the comp better than Tom Kench would have. No, I don't know why I'm saying probably. Karma fits this comp better than Tom Kench would have for sure. Something like Senna Tom.
That was brutal.
Okay. And yeah, that was game 1 to 3 of Fnatic versus Top. Check out my second video to see games 4 and 5.